Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Get Growing, a Vyne Dental Podcast. My name is Kevin Henry. I am a speaker, consultant, and the editor-in-chief for drbycuspid.com. I've been lucky enough to be in the dental industry since 1999, and today I'm going to be answering 5 questions that will help you get to know me a little bit better and what I've learned along the way that can help your practice and yourself grow. So what inspired you to pursue a career in dentistry, and what keeps you passionate about it today? I'll be perfectly honest. Dentistry was not something I ever had on my bingo card growing up or even in college. I had pursued sports public relations, and I was living my dream as a sports public relations expert, working for the NAIA, Small College Athletics. So I was going to ESPN and USA Today to talk about our small colleges and our athletes from my hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And one day the boss comes in and he says, "Kevin, we need to move to a major sports market, and we're going to Kansas City. We'd love for you to come along. So let me know what you think." And unfortunately, I had to turn that down because at the time my daughter was 4 months old. She was the only grandchild. My entire family was in Oklahoma at the time, and there was no way that I was going to move her away from them. So I decided I needed a job. And I was lucky enough being in Tulsa that is also where Dental Economics magazine is located. I am a journalism major from high school, from college. And then I got my master's degree in public relations and journalism. And so I've always been a journalist. And whenever the opportunity to be the managing editor for Dental Economics arose, I was lucky enough to get that. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I didn't intend to stay in this industry. I really didn't. But after I was hired, Lyle Hoyt, who was the publisher at that time, told me, he said, now that you're in this industry, you're never going to leave because you're going to meet some amazing people and you will love it. At the time, I rolled my eyes, got to be honest. But the more that I got into it, the more that I met people, I will tell you, this is absolutely the greatest industry. And I've been a part of it since 1999. I've been lucky enough to oversee Dental Economics magazine. I've been the editor-in-chief for Dental Products Report magazine. And now I'm the editor-in-chief for Dr. Bicuspid. So while I've never worked inside a dental practice, I've absolutely had the chance to go into ask so many of you, what makes your practice run? What are your biggest headaches? What are your biggest joys? And really watch you work. And it's inspired me to every day, whenever I go sit down on my computer and we figure out what we're going to do that day on drbycuspid.com, I think about what's going to help you in your practice, what's going to help you with your patients, with your team members. How are you all going to have a better day? And that's my whole goal every day. So what inspires me, what keeps me passionate, it's honestly that. We are in such an incredible time of growth in our industry and everything that is to come. I love seeing the new technologies. I love seeing how they're going to impact dental team members and dentists as well. And so discovering what new innovations out there really inspires me every day. I will tell you, one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most in 2025 is I will be attending the International Dental Show, the IDS meeting in Cologne, Germany in late March, not long after I do my webinar with Vyne, which I'm really excited about and we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But whenever I go to Germany, this is like the Detroit Auto Show for cars. You get to see everything that is going to come to the US 2, 3, 5 years from now. And so I'm so excited to see what new technologies are coming and to kind of start wrapping my head around how am I going to explain to my readers why this new technology is important to them, how it's going to change their patients' lives, how it's going to change their workflow. That's what keeps me going. And that's what keeps me excited about something that I've done for, 25 plus years now. And I look forward to every day. Can you share a memorable patient success story that showcases the impact of modern dental technologies on patient care? I can. And it's a very personal story to me. And it's one that if you ever hear me lecture at a dental meeting, you will probably hear me tell this story. So if you've seen me, forgive me. If you haven't, I'll give you a sneak preview. My mom is in her early 80s now. I'm very fortunate that I still have both my parents. And I go back to Oklahoma quite a bit to see them. I now live north of Denver, and so it's a quick flight for me to get back to Oklahoma to check in on them. I'm an only child, so we are a very tight-knit family. And it wasn't long ago that whenever I flew into Tulsa that my mom had suffered a fractured tooth. front fractured tooth. So it was very noticeable. She bit into an apple that morning at breakfast, and part of her tooth stayed in there. The problem is my mom is a diabetic. My mom has a list of medications that is a mile long. There's a lot of things that we keep an eye on with my mom because her health isn't that great. And for all of you who work in a dental practice or know anything about dentistry, you know that the oral systemic link is real. And we know that diabetes has an impact on oral health and vice versa. So whenever I knew that my mom was having this problem, it was right before I flew into Tulsa, so the timing was excellent. My mom is also shall we say, a dental phobe. She knows what I do for a living. She knows how much that I respect everything that dentists and dental team members do, but she's also afraid of going into the dental practice. And at the time that this fractured tooth occurred, she had not been to the dentist for the last 5 years. She has had some issues as a child with the dentist, and those were just things that kept popping up in her head. And there came a point, COVID, all that good stuff, that she decided that she could skip going to the dentist and it was going to be okay. Well, at that point we needed to, and long story short, we got an emergency appointment with a local dentist that I knew and took very good care of her. But one of the things that I saw during that appointment, because I went to kind of help her feel at ease, to help her stress level go down, was the fact that they not only had really great technology in the practice. I mean, they used cone beam on her to see how deep the fracture was. They did all these different radiographs, all these different things to tell the story. And my mom needed to see that story. So the CBCT, her seeing her skull, her seeing her teeth, her seeing the roots, her seeing everything, and being able to understand that this is what happened, this is what we're going to do to fix it, and here are the pictures to back up what we're saying. It made so much of a difference. And I think so many times in the dental practice, we sit there and we know we have this technology, and we know that we have patients who come in, but we don't understand what an impact it truly makes on that patient. And I will tell you, the technology made a huge impact on my mom. But what made the biggest impact was this. The dental assistant who sat there, and I will always be thankful for Jen, the dental assistant there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you're watching, you know who you are. But she took the time to explain to my mom what needed to be done. She took the time to back up the words from the dentist about, this is what we're going to do, this is how long it's going to take, this is how much it's going to cost, this is what it's going to feel like for you. And again, using the technology to tell the story. So while I'm always a big fan of technology, and while I'm always a big fan of every bell and whistle and everything that we can bring into the practice to improve the patient experience, none of it means anything without people who are truly passionate about explaining what the technology can do and how it will help those moments in the dental chair. Look, we know that none of us really enjoy going to the dentist. I mean, it's something that we do. But we also know that there are lots of ways that going to the dentist and being a part of the dental cycle every year, it's important for our health, for our overall health. And I will tell you, those moments that my mom had her tooth restored, those have been game changing. She's no longer not only afraid to bite into an apple, which I'm very thankful about, but she's also not afraid to go back to the dentist now. And I don't need to go with her, because she knows not only will Jen, the dental assistant, be there, but she knows that she's going into a practice that not only cares about her and will explain things to her, but also has the technology to back up any questions that she has. So I'm very thankful for every bit of technology. CBCT, it is fantastic. But I'm more thankful, even than that, for the dental team members who take the time to sit down with their patients and say, what questions do you have? What can I answer for you? How can I make you feel better about this? Because I can tell you that day, I saw my mom's stress level go from here to here, simply because the technology was there and there was a caring soul that took the time to explain it to her. In your opinion, what emerging dental technology or trend excites you the most for the future of dentistry, and why? I've got to tell you, I'm excited about artificial intelligence. I think that AI is still something that is very misunderstood in dentistry. I think that it's still a very nebulous thought out there. And I think that there are still plenty of folks out there that whenever you say AI, they're going to immediately think of the Terminator and Skynet and everything else. But I'm very excited about where AI is going to take dentistry. And one of the biggest ways that I'm excited about it is how it can help the staffing shortage that we currently face in our industry. I go to so many dental shows and I look around and there are AI opportunities for dental practices to embrace that maybe will help if they don't have somebody up front to help with all the insurance, to help with answering the phones, whatever it might be. Right now, there are AI solutions for that I see. And again, I'm so excited to see the next step in AI whenever I go to the IDS meeting in March in Cologne. But for me, AI is about solving staffing shortages, but it's also about making sure that we provide the best possible care to our patients possible. I will tell you, I was just at the Yankee Dental Congress in Boston, walking around and seeing the AI advantages that are there. And whenever I see how AI is helping us read radiographs and make sure that we are catching all the caries that is possible, that we're catching all the decay, everything that is needed, as well as that's the clinical side of things. But then as well as in the back, or in the front, I should say, where I'm seeing AI and how it helps with insurance. Look, insurance is a very tough thing. We know that. And so often we get so many questions from our patients. But to me, AI is something that if it's implemented properly and you make sure that it works with your practice management software, this is something that can really help save time and energy at the front desk, especially whenever it comes to making sure that all of the claims are processed properly, making sure that all of the benefits are actually detailed properly back to the dental patient whenever he or she walks in or when he or she calls on the phone. I will tell you, just this morning, I took part in a product test that was me talking to AI and pretending that I was a dental patient. And the creator of this product basically said, ask it anything you want. And I tried to stump the AI. I asked it, is there a sufficient parking in front of your practice? And I got the answer right back that no, there are plenty of parking places. Certainly you'll have plenty of places to choose to park your car as you come in for our visit. I tried different things to stump it, and I saw how much of a help that this is. And the beautiful part is it was transcribing everything that I said and then could relay that back to the office manager or the person at the front desk to then schedule me for an appointment. So I'm very excited about what AI can do, the possibilities that are there, and how it can help every dental practice not only take its practice to the next level, but again, make sure that if you're battling any staffing shortages, that there are ways to help to have this AI become a part of your team that really makes a big difference. How do you approach educating and empowering your patients/offices to take control of their health outside of the clinic? One of the things that I am very fortunate to do is I am lucky enough to speak to dental assistants around the world. I have the Dental Assistant Nation podcast series that I put out every week, as well as I've been fortunate enough to speak at Yankee, Chicago, Greater New York, Hinman, various state meetings, California Dental, to dental assistants, and talk to them about some of the things that are impacting them the most. And one of the biggest things that I hear out there is about burnout. I hear about the moment whenever that alarm clock goes off and your eyes open and you just have a hard time getting out of bed and not because it's cold, not because, of anything else. It's because you're almost dreading going into work. And I think that dentistry has a huge problem right now with burnout. I mentioned the staff shortages a moment ago, and one of the biggest things that I see are that we are in a dental practice covering for those people who may not be there that day or are no longer there, and there's an opening in the position. I see dental assistants who are training the newer dental assistants coming in, and it's adding more stress to their day. I'm seeing this with hygiene, front desk, everywhere. And so I think that we have to really consider burnout as an unspoken thing right now that we need to be talking about a lot more. So while I see all sorts of ergonomic educators out there, and absolutely taking care of your body is so vitally important, and making sure that you do not burn out your body in the early stages, and that there's carpal tunnel and everything else that goes along with dentistry. I also think that we have to be very open and honest about how we're handling things mentally on a daily basis, how we're feeling whenever we get to the practice. I have a dear friend who owns a dental practice, and one of the questions that he asks every day is there something that's keeping you from being a 10 today? And of course, he was ranking 10 as the best and 0 as the worst. And that's his question. Is there something keeping you from being a 10 today? And he invites questions. He invites things from his team to tell if they're having a bad day, if they're worried about their parents, if they got a speeding ticket on the way in, the things that he wants the entire team to know so that they can all rally around each other. And I think it's really important that we establish in the dental practice those moments when team members can say, I need just a minute here. And you actually can take that break to regroup, recharge, and be ready for the next patient. I was working with a dental assistant one time in Florida, and whenever I was in her practice, one of the things that I heard, and it was a joke, I'm sure, but the hygienist in that practice said, I really don't get going until about 9:30 or 10 o'clock every day. And I knew darn good and well if they had patients starting at 8 o'clock. And I asked, I said, so what if I'm your 8 o'clock patient? And she said, well, I just power through it. And I think the time for powering through it is over. I think the time for us to actually be able to say what's keeping us from being a 10 for every patient is now. And it's time for us to be able to say, if you're burned out, if you're stressed, if there are mental anxieties, whatever it is, that not only are you free to talk about it, but there are resources out there to help you get back into the game as well. So the biggest thing that I try to educate my clients on, that I try to educate my readers on at Dr. Bicuspid, is it's okay to say I'm tired. It's okay to say I need a break. And it's also okay, if you're not that person, to give that person a little bit of that space and latitude in order for them to regroup and recharge. And I think if we really make mental health and we really make caring for each other and understanding each other at a deeper level a priority in 2025, I think it could be an absolute game changer for dentistry. If you could give one piece of advice to fellow dentists / dental professionals to grow their practice, what would it be? This is something I am so passionate about. And again, I'll go back to the way that I talk to dental assistants so much. There are, and I'm sure all of you know this, but I'm just going to state the obvious. Every state is different whenever it comes to what a dental assistant can or cannot do legally in that practice. And so often whenever I work with a dental team or whenever I'm speaking at a dental meeting, I will often ask dental assistants, do you know what you can legally do in this state? And it's not a question that I'm asking to try to get the dentist who has given him or her more responsibilities than is legally allowed. That's not why I'm asking. I'm asking because I think we need to make sure that every team member in our practice is as optimized as possible to do everything possible to not only alleviate some of the staff shortages, but also to impact the bottom line as much as possible. And again, every state is different to what dental assistants can or cannot do, but I really encourage those practices, and I encourage all of you, know what your dental practices can do. Check out your local dental laws, your state dental board, whatever they have set as the requirements for dental assistants, and then make sure that not only you know what that is, but that everybody on the team knows what they legally can or cannot do. And if there's something that team member is not doing at this point, how can you provide training? How can you provide resources? How can you provide support to make sure that team member embraces what could be to come? One thing that I hear so often is that dental team members want to grow in their careers. They want to take that next step, and they're more than happy to take that next step. And so dentists, if you're listening, I'm asking you, how are you encouraging those team members to actually do that? I always encourage my practices to do 2 meetings a year with every team member. At the start of the year, near the start of the year, you talk about goals for the practice. You talk about goals for that person. It's a time to really see where those two things mesh and how you as the dentist can help make those things mesh. And then I always say, if you're meeting in January or February or near the start of the year, then meet again in July or August and look back at what has already happened so far and where you are on track to either meet those goals or hopefully beat those goals. I think that we do a really good job of doing like New Year's resolutions. And we say, I'm going to make things better in 2025. It's going to be awesome. And then we get to a point where we forget all about that. And there's no milestones or reminders along the way to keep us on the path. And so I think that second meeting is even more important than the first one, because you're not waiting until, December 30th to say, how did we do this year? And how did you do this year? But you're actually doing something early enough that if you've fallen off course, if you're not on track to complete the goals, whatever it might be, you have time to get back on track and to make sure that things are moving forward in the direction that will not only help that dental professional grow, but also help the dental practice grow. So if I were to give one piece of advice, I would say, ask your team members what their goals are for 2025. Listen to what they say, and then work on a plan together to make those dreams become a reality. So one thing I am very excited about is that I am going to be presenting a course with Vyne, 5 keys to discussing payments with your patients. And I'm going to be doing that March 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I absolutely cannot wait to do this. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is that technology. And we're also going to talk about communication and the best ways to know that you're getting through to that patient and really answering the questions whenever it comes to not only their clinical needs, but also their financial needs that go along with that as well. So if you want to learn more about me, absolutely, please check out kevinspeaksdental.com, and please subscribe to drbycuspid.com, drbycuspid.com. And I thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the Vyne webinar on March 18th.